So, what is it that separates a pretty good hospital from a truly great one? It's not always the stuff you can see. See, behind the scenes, there's this invisible engine, and it's always running, making sure that quality and safety are top notch. In this explainer, we're going to pop the hood and see exactly how it all works.
I mean, think about it for a second. When you or someone you love needs care, how can you be absolutely sure you're in the safest possible hands? It's a huge question, right? And the answer, well, it has nothing to do with fancy buildings or slick commercials. It's all about the systems they have in place.
You know, the best way to think about a great hospital is to imagine it's a high-performance car. Yeah, it looks amazing on the outside, but its real power, its performance, comes from a super finely tuned engine that's constantly being watched, inspected, and optimized. Peak performance is never just a happy accident. It's engineered. So what fuels this engine? It really boils down to three key things. First, you need a real-time dashboard to see how everything's going. We'll get to know these as KPIs. Next, it needs regular, really deep inspections, or audits, to find any problems hiding under the surface. And finally, you need an expert strategy team to look at all that data and actually steer the ship. Let's break each of those down, starting with that dashboard.
Okay, first up, the dashboard. Just like in your car, this is the hospital's command center for what's happening right now. And the little gauges and numbers on this dashboard, they're called Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs for short.
So what in the world is a KPI? Well, think of it like a vital sign for the hospital itself. It's not a vague feeling or a guess. It's a hard number, a real metric that answers a really important question, like, are we making patients wait too long? Or are our infection rates creeping up? It's the data that tells the story of how well the hospital is actually doing. And we're talking about things that really, really matter. Critical stuff, like patient wait times in the emergency room, the rate of infections that happen inside the hospital, or even how often medication errors occur. By tracking these numbers like a hawk, the hospital can spot a problem, a bad trend, and jump on it before it can ever affect a patient.
But here's the crucial point. Not just any number will work. A good KPI has to be, first, relevant. It has to be directly tied to the hospital's main goals, especially patient safety. Second, it's got to be measurable with data they can actually get their hands on. And third, it has to be tracked all the time, not just once in a blue moon. It's this constant monitoring that makes the whole dashboard concept so incredibly powerful.
All right, so a dashboard tells you if a warning light is flashing, but it doesn't always tell you why. For that, you got to get under the hood. And that brings us to the second piece of our engine, the deep inspection, or what the hospital world calls an audit.
So what's an audit? Well, if KPIs are the dashboard lights, then the audit is like the master mechanic coming in to do a full head-to-toe diagnostic check. They go through everything systematically, from the processes people follow to the paperwork, to make sure the hospital is hitting all the strict safety and quality standards set by official groups.
Now, audits come in a couple of main flavors. You've got your internal audits. That's where the hospital's own trained team runs drills to find and fix any little gaps on their own. And then you have the external audits. This is the big one. It's the official inspection by outside experts to earn and keep their accreditation. It's kind of like the difference between a dress rehearsal and the actual opening night performance.
Okay, so now we have this real-time data from the KPIs, and we have the deep dive findings from the audits. But all that information is totally useless unless someone actually does something with it. And that brings us to our final component, the strategy huddle, also known as the management review meeting.
You can think of this as the pit crew huddle. It's a regular, high-level meeting where all the hospital leaders get in a room with their quality experts. They lay all the data out on the table, the KPI trends, the audit reports, everything, and they ask the most important question of all. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? And just look at everything they're digging into. It's not just one little data point. They're connecting all the dots between what the audits found, what the performance numbers are showing, reports on any incidents, and even what patients are saying. This is the moment where data becomes an action plan. They decide on specific steps to not just fix problems that have happened, but to prevent future ones. Then they put the resources, the money and the staff, behind it to make it a reality. So now we have the three parts, right? The dashboard, the inspection, and the strategy huddle. But their true power, the real magic, isn't that they exist on their own. It's how they all work together to create this seamless, self-improving system. This is where it all comes together. See how it makes a perfect circle? An audit might find a potential risk. So what do? The hospital creates a new KPI to keep an eye on it. That data then flows to the management review meeting, where the leaders build an improvement plan. But they don't just cross their fingers and hope it works. No, they use new KPIs and plan for future audits to measure if their plan is actually working. It's a closed-loop system that just never stops turning. It creates, and this is put so perfectly, a continuous feedback loop driving organizational excellence. It's not about a one-time fix. It's about a constant dynamic process of getting better and better every single day. So let's bring this all home. Why does any of this matter to you? Well, first, it shows that top-tier quality and safety aren't an accident. They are designed, they're built. Second, it means that the really big decisions about your care are being driven by hard data, not just someone's gut feeling. And finally, it proves that the hospital's leadership is all in, creating a culture that's always pushing to be better. This whole engine, it's really your best assurance of quality. So the next time you walk into a hospital, just remember that there's this invisible engine humming along in the background working for you. And I guess my question for you is this. Now that you know about this whole system of dashboards and inspections and strategy meetings, does it change how you see the healthcare you get?